and it is Islamophobia. And there's this whole debate, that the likes of Quilliam Foundation and Majid Nawaz would argue that Islamophobia is a term that we shouldn't be actually using. And there's lots of debates around that. But the truth is, when I get attacked, if you look at my Twitter handle, you'll see plenty of Islamophobic abuse.
Yeah.
And that Islamophobia, I'm a Muslim because I believe in Islam. It's because I'm a follower of Islam.
So I guess that sounds like a strategy by Islamophobes to actually sort of reduce the seriousness, I guess, of the incidents if there's still debate about the terminology, right? Right, okay. Jazakallah Sahar, do you mind staying on a little bit? Because I've got Naz Shah on the line. I want to bring her online to talk about her views. So Naz, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Inspire FM.
Well, Islam, absolute pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. So just to put a little bit of context, we talked about the headline last Friday from The Guardian, which indicates that a rise in anti-Muslim hate crime over the week since the Christchurch shooting has gone up by 593%. So I just wanted your view on whether that was reflective and what, if you have any other data which kind of supports that headline.
Well, it's not about the data. The truth is that Islamophobia is absolutely underreported, and we know that it's underreported because the conviction rates aren't high of hate crimes. So during my time as the member of the Home Affairs Select Committee, we undertook a hate crime inquiry, and the Islamophobia inquiry was still ongoing at the time that I took my position as a shadow minister. So we at that time we were worried, and following Christchurch, it is even more worrying. That we have a rise of more than 600%. I think it was the last time I looked.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's a quote which indicates that it's close to 1,000% in your neck of the woods. I think Leeds in one of the newspapers reported up there. But I guess in the percentages, the actual figures probably tell the closer truth, I guess. And on the face of it, like you're saying, it's underreported. The number of incidents doesn't appear to be high. But what you're saying is there's a systematic problem in recording these.
There's a systematic, so it is supposed to be recorded, but it's not just about recording, it's about people having the confidence to go to the police and recording it as a hate crime. And it being recognised as a hate crime. And there's a lot of work to be done to get all 43 police forces in the country to get there where they are, but they're all adhering to good practice. And if I put it into context, a couple of years ago when we were talking about honour crime, and honour crime is much more out there and known about, a lot of the forces failed on being the best that they could be. So Islamophobia is still, there's this whole thing about, what is Islamophobia? And it's like the Sahar said earlier, and I completely agree. What we need to talk about is structured Islamophobia and structured and institutional Islamophobia. So one of the things as a member of the all-party parliamentary group, we tried to unpick some of this by having a definition, which I'm pleased to say that the Labour Party has adopted, the Lib Dems have, as has Sadiq Khan and the London Mayor and many other councils. But what we've done is we've put a framework together to give a context of what Islamophobia is, what would constitute it. So when Muslims are talking about, for example, Palestine, and when Muslims are talking about Kashmir, they shouldn't be shut down. There's lots of other examples as well, similar to the anti-Semitism IRA definition of when Muslims are looked upon as, they suffer. And it's about that, and it is Islamophobia. And there's this whole debate, that the likes of Quilliam Foundation and Majid Nawaz would argue that Islamophobia is a term that we shouldn't be actually using. And there's lots of debates around that. But the truth is, when I get attacked, if you look at my Twitter handle, you'll see plenty of Islamophobic abuse.
Yeah.
And that Islamophobia, I'm a Muslim because I believe in Islam. It's because I'm a follower of Islam.
So I guess that sounds like a strategy by Islamophobes to actually sort of reduce the seriousness, I guess, of the incidents if there's still debate about the terminology, right?
Well, it's about, you could argue it's about semantics. At the end of the day, really, there's a word that was in the 70s and 60s, we used to have the word racialism as opposed to racism. And that was the semantics of the word at that time. And the truth is, that when you've got 800 organisations, plus organisations, and the definition is underpinned by the work of 70 plus academics, and for some of them, racism has been their whole life's work. Then yes, I would say the Tory party, who will not who haven't adopted it yet and haven't accepted there's a need for an inquiry within their ranks. There's a huge issue when our political leadership is in denial, complete denial.
Well, it's an interesting point you raise, because the question arises in people's minds is that people in authority, people in power, people in a position to change legislation, etc. And I quote the incident of a number, I think 15 or so Conservatives being suspended and then quietly reinstated again. So the question does arise: are the people in authority and power taking Islamophobia seriously?
Well, I would argue they're not taking it seriously. If they took it seriously, we'd have an inquiry in the Conservative Party. I mean, I take it, we're swamped with Brexit right now. But the truth is that doesn't stop us from running the country. That the government should continue to deal with and tackle the rise of the far right. This Cressida Dick put out a statement, I think it was earlier today, about how they're tackling extremism and how they need to share more information. If we look at Prevent, the review of Prevent now is, I'm really worried that they're using this rise of the far right to say, well, actually, it's a balanced thing that's working now because we've got the right. But actually, my real worry is that Prevent itself, the review is coming from a place of defending it as opposed to genuinely reviewing it. And, so that's a worry for me. And that in itself, if you looked at the Runnymede definition of Islamophobia, when they talked about it 20 years on, there was this whole thing about Prevent actually being racist towards Muslims and Islamophobic. So we have to tackle not just the outwardly hate crime, etc., but actually the structural Islamophobia. When the research tells you that if you're a Muslim woman with a hijab, you are 85% less likely chances of getting a job. These kind of things for Muslim children to be left behind, all of these things are really, really pertinent and important.
Indeed. And I guess the question leads on from the comment you made is, how prevalent is this anti-Muslim Islamophobic view within the actual parliamentarians, seeing that some of them have actually invited people like Geert Wilders and etc. to the House of Commons. What is the picture among the elected officials?
Well, it's very worrying when you have Tory MP Bob Blackman hosting Tapan Ghosh in Parliament. Tapan Ghosh is Hindu nationalist anti-Muslim. You've got Tommy Robinson being invited to the House of Lords for a cup of tea by the UKIP peer. You've got Tommy Robinson being retweeted. You have Zach Goldsmith, who ran the most Islamophobic campaign against Sadiq Khan, and there's yet an apology. There's no apology waiting in the wings. There's not even an acknowledgement, let alone an apology. So these kind of things tell you where we're at with all of this.
So I get the next question would be, do the Muslims have supporters, and are the supporters doing anything to actually trying to bring about change at that level?
Well, if you look at the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslim, it's led by and chaired by Anna Soubry, who's a Tory, and Wes Streeton, who's a Labour MP. And these people have really, really, and Eleanor Smith, Tan Desi, we've got some really, really brilliant, aside from Muslims, who are non-Muslims, who are really, really flying the flag. And we, in the Labour Party, we have Jeremy Corbyn, and, it's pushing against an open door when it comes to this stuff. Because that's what he's done all his life, he's been an anti-racist campaigner. And he gets it, because, Finsbury Park happened in his constituency. So it's about having, yes, we have allies, and yes, we have the support. Yes, we have Brexit, which kind of swallows up the column space and the headlines and the Times. But we also have people who are really, really supporting us. Over 50 cross-party parliamentarians endorsed the definition for Islamophobia. So yeah, we do have people who are advocating and who are stepping up and not being bystanders and being upstanders, really.
Brilliant. On that note, Naz Shah, thank you very much for your time, and indeed perhaps we will speak on more occasions. I think this is the first time you've appeared on Inspire FM, and I think we're very pleased to have you, and perhaps on future occasions too.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.